Hey Manu, ¿qué tal? I'm basically recording some video feedback this week because I'm really trying not to type because I'm very bad at it. But yeah, no, I'm dropping by your PR, just having a look, see what you're doing, and I love the acting on all three pieces. It's really good. There's some very funny lines. My favorite really is number two, and just because I think it's more surreal than all of the other ones. I mean, I like kind of like the other two ideas, but the one about the girl dating and having the guy tied up, I think that is brilliant. I really do. Plus, I can see it. I can see it working. The one about the British Museum. Let's just have a look at it because there's a mixture of things that you're doing which are really cool. I mean, in the first take, the take one has the best beginning, if you know what I mean. Because it's like the opening in take one is kind of like it just presents, the coffin very well. It's the one that does it the best of all three. But take two, I think, has the best part, kind of like of internal process, because what's happening is that you're doing all these kind of like gestures, and it's like the character's just realizing, oh my god, there's somebody inside there, and that's kind of like I think the thing that works best for that one. I don't think that the take three where he goes down to the coffin and he actually puts his head next to it actually works as well because it's like he seems more horrified in the other one. I love the way of how he kind of like points, almost desperately. And take three is quite solid as well, but I think that the alternate ending is also the way to go as well. But instead of slapping, the brochure straight down into the hand, you should do that action, but looking towards where the character actually is now. Am I doing this correctly or not? No, I'm not, because he's actually looking that way. So instead of doing it straight onto camera right here, you should do it that way and be looking at the person that he was actually talking to instead of banging it down, looking at, the coffin and then moving over. As I said before, the one with the Liberace idea, I think, is just brilliant. It's one of those things that I like it because it's you can have the character actually walk in to the shot, and I think that that's going to make it even funnier because if you've got the person who's tied up sitting behind, and looking up, you can have her basically come in, walk into shot, and that type of look there, when it's kind of like it just goes from you like Liberace, and it's almost like threatening with the knife. It's like, you like Liberace, don't you? And then she zooms right out. I think that's a nice amount of changes there because it's almost like she comes in, and it's all very over the top. Then it goes into a bit threatening, and then she just has to look off to the side of the shot and then walk out again, and then kind of like come back in all nice and sweet after that. So I think that your take one, take two. Let me just have a look at it and see what it's like again. Yeah, I think take one was much more explosive. It's like every action was just a bit broader, and I think it just works better because there was a palpable excitement in there, and in idea three, which is very funny as well, second favorite by all means. Yeah. So the thing is that looking at all the different takes here, I think it's the thing is that take one that you've done here it's a bit more kind of like casual in the sense of it's a bit more kind of like, oh, she's in her own business, and then it's like, oh, that. I think that that's kind of like it's a nice way of starting that scene where she's already thinking of something else. You kind of like fidgeting like that. It might be that she has something in her hand or something like that. It almost looks like a society ball. And then she comes up and, she swaggers towards the actual scene. And I think that that's kind of like, it's a nice take one. The only thing that I think in this part is I think you're going to sell off the idea a little bit more that, she's slightly happy because it's a bit dangerous because it's like, I could be a murderer. Murderess! And almost, smile a bit more, be a bit more happy about it because she's a bit more kind of like, murderess instead. And so I think that, it's something that's not in your take, but it's something that I think that might be able to work where it's like, almost like the emotions of the shots are basically like, complete kind of like indifference at the beginning, and then an attraction of attention. She walks up, starts telling the story, and then basically goes into thinking about how cool it is to actually be a murderess. That type of stuff I think is kind of like the way that this scene could play out. But as I said before, I think if you have to choose, the strongest one that you do have is essentially the second idea, sorry, take one. That's probably the strongest one, I feel, at least, acting wise. And I know nothing of acting whatsoever. But anyway, man, hope that helps in some weird and wonderful way. It's good to basically be able to send you some feedback, and yeah, hopefully I'll see you around the site soon, okay? Take care, man. See ya.